And now, to our friends in China, and by that, of course, I mean not our friends in China. The people who are the Chinese Australians, no problem with you. The population of China, no problem with you. But the government of China and its agents here in Australia, both foreign-born and domestic in our political sphere, are well and truly the problem. Now, all year I've held the line on China because they are not a normal country. This is not someone of similar ilk to the United States replacing the UK, a Western power replacing a Western power. This is a very different power that wishes to turn every possible observation of its bad form into an insult that results in you being levelled to the ground. But thankfully, in President Trump, we have a genuine ally. And the United States has announced that they are going to start sending more ships via the South China Sea to Australia to remind China that while they think they're winning a PR war, the actual strength of this country is that we are connected, interconnected, as part of the Five Eyes intelligence network, but also proudly part of the Western defence for freedom and common sense. Thankfully, as you can see on screen, those that are in and around Joe Biden say that they will do exactly what the Trump administration has done when it comes to defending Australia. Fingers crossed, we hope that to be the case. But both sides of American politics, regardless of whether it is the disruptor or the swamp creatures, they know the threat of China and they understand the need to support Australia. But then there are the people who we have in this country who, put simply, are willing to sell out their country for the pieces of silver that come with doing business in China. Now remember, China is not a normal country. China has sought vengeance on us because we wanted an inquiry into a pandemic that's killed 1 million people and destroyed the Western world, that's created trillions of dollars in debt that will probably never be paid off, and of course changed our relationship between personal freedom and government deciding literally when you can and can't leave the house. Now, while these people purport to be proud Australians, when China seeks to punish Australia, they turn to the defence of China. They turn to the defence of China, put simply, because they don't stand with the steel spine that our Prime Minister has. Amongst them, very popular politicians. Politicians whose state budgets are held up because of many of the mining royalties that we, in part, make of sending stuff to China. I'm talking about Western Australia's Premier, Mark McGowan.
With China, we need to have cool heads. We need to have an approach that resolves issues. And I just urge everyone in both governments to get back and talk.
No. We've done nothing wrong. If you want to talk about an example of a government here in Australia that is doing something wrong, that is bending to China's will, you need look no further than the Western Australian government. I told you this story when it was breaking news last night. But a museum in Western Australia decided to react positively to a complaint from the Chinese Consul General that there was a factual error in a display about coronavirus, which said it started or got out of control in China. They complain on the Friday, the plates are changed by the Monday. Was the Premier even asked a question about this today? Of course not. Is this as significant as a trade war? No, but it is a sign of what are you willing to bend for and for whom are you willing to bend over. There's also issues inside the people who are the alternative government of this country. Make no mistake, parts of the Labor Party are on the wrong side. They're the ones who believe that we must manage the relationship, which is code for shut up, never annoy, never observe, never hold to account a country in the exact same form that we would even our best friends. This was the Trade Shadow Minister and the comments that they have made in the press in the past day or so. I don't think it should be abandoned. It's quite a range of products that go into China, and we wouldn't want to put that in jeopardy. Code, shut up, don't disappoint. Even though right now, a lot of them are clearly part of trade moves by China. And then there's our old mate Each Way Albo. As we showed you this week, and it is worth showing you again, this is the alternative Prime Minister. He does not share the steel in the spine that our current Prime Minister has. This was Anthony Albanese on Monday agreeing with the Prime Minister in his reaction to the disgraceful slurs that came from China about our soldiers.
It is gratuitous, inflammatory and deeply offensive. Labor will not be asking questions about this matter today. Australia's condemnation of this image is above politics.
2 days later, Each Way Albo, of course, has a problem.
Been there for a period of time, the deterioration. The government, we have said, needs to have a strategy to deal with that.
And again, I'm always thankful that we have a Prime Minister who has his steel in the spine, and also a bloke who may have watched this show from time to time.
Well, in relation to Mr Albanese, I'm disappointed but not surprised. You can't have each way bets on national security and what Australia does to protect its national interests.
Each Way Albo. It's official now. No wonder this bloke is not even preferred by half of all Labor supporters as the preferred Prime Minister, and a 2-to-1 margin, 60 to 29, as preferred Prime Minister across the country. God hope that bloke never gets in charge, because does he have the strength to stand up to China? No way. Meantime, the Prime Minister has gone out of his way to make the obvious point that there is no problem that Australia has with the Chinese citizens who live in this country or the citizens who live in China. So he decided to make an outreach on the social media platform that China controls, that tens of thousands of Chinese Australians here access each and every day, in which, in part, he said, "The post of a false image of an Australian soldier does not diminish our respect and appreciation for our Chinese Australian community, or indeed our friendship with the Chinese people." No problem there, right? Unless, of course, you're China, and you're trying to make it all about Scott Morrison, make him seem like the madman in all of this. And they will ramp this up, the noise between now and the next election. And just like all bullies who say, do what I do, then the noise goes away. Think of the Black Lives Matter protests that suddenly have stopped now that Trump seems not to be the president coming up at the start of next year. They censored the post. They blocked it. They got rid of it. And this really matters because there are a lot of people in Australia who have a connection back to their homeland through platforms like WeChat. They also have connections towards their communities through local Chinese language newspapers, websites, podcasts, radio services. And there was a frightening example about how some of those responded to the Prime Minister saying what you just saw him say. And unsurprisingly, when there's no free thinking in those that are speaking on the behalf of China, they ridiculed the Prime Minister. Now, that's not a crime in this country. It is in China, however. Among the things that were pushed out on the behalf of Beijing on WeChat and other places, Morrison sounds like he's drunk some fake wine. That was sent to people in Sydney, to people in Melbourne. Australian soldiers killed general citizens and slaughtered children, and when the truth was exposed, they claimed China was slandering them. So why does WeChat matter? Why does the local Chinese language newspaper matter? Because despite the fact that they are often written and sold here in Australia, our own national security figures have released today concerns that all of these are just puppets for the propaganda coming from China itself. Things that are sold in Australian news agencies right now. Put simply, Beijing controls Chinese language media agencies in Australia, says our intelligence agencies. And I'll trust ours over the Chinese any day. Now, there's a few words here, but they are devastating to read, and well done to the reporting that was done by The Age and Sydney Morning Herald today on this. The analysis found that online news media platform Southeast Net Australia was fully and openly controlled by the Communist Party, but Beijing's sway over other domestic outlets was more subtle yet still evident. Canberra sources, aware of the contents of the official national intelligence briefings, say that it has established more than 2/3 of the online sites, that being the local media that local Chinese Australians are reading here, had senior staff with connections to organisations considered to engage in interference or influence on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party. It's going to get rough in the next few weeks. It's going to get rougher in the next few months. And China will try to flatten Australia in the next few years. But like all bullies, they will say that there's a way to get out of this. There's a way to manage the relationship. There's a way to reset our relationship. Just get rid of that Prime Minister who's willing to stand up to us. Well, China does not run Australia. It may own massive parts of it. It may have people in certain parts of certain state governments, certain educational institutions, certain media organisations, but they don't own the Australian people. And I bet, with everything I've got, that at the next election, the one after that, 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 and forever, we will back leaders who back us, who have steel in their spine and know the difference between right and wrong, who understand that Western values are our values. And as Andrew Bolt quite correctly pointed out earlier in the week, 3,000 and a bit people have fled China to come to Australia. No one has fled Australia to go to China.